Hello and welcome to another episode of C-Suite, a CEO Chat. Yes, I am your host, Shawanna Kennedy, and you know I love being able to have these conversations with you where we talk about the good, the bad, and sometimes ugly of what it looks and feel like to be a CEO. This time I have gone across the globe and I have a young lady who prides herself, a former educator who now understands the importance of the law. So we have an attorney in the house. We have another esquire in the house. This young lady, a former teacher, she decided to do a switch up. So we're going to ask her about that on the inside. But now we're talking about trademark. If you are a business owner, you're a CEO, whether it's your logo, anything as it pertains to your intellectual property, these are things you need to know. So I'm excited. Won't you help me welcome in Miss Jamila Moore, Esquire. Hey, Jamila.
Hi.
Welcome to the C-Suite. I'm so glad that you are here. Welcome. I'm excited. We're going to have to get right in, right? Because we want to, while we got her in here, we need to ask all the questions. First up, why the switch from education to law? Have to know that.
So you see that deep breath? One, I did it the opposite way of my plan. So I am God's little daughter. And so with that being said, that means his plans always trump my plan. So my idea was to go to law school, get hired at one of these big law firms, drive my Porsche, have a slew of Chanel bags, and just really make all this money. And I'm like, once I get tired of making all the money, I'll retire and then I'll go and teach. You know, I'll be able to wear what I want and I'll be able to educate the next generation. Mm-hmm. And God clearly laughed at that plan. And so coming out of undergrad, I did Teach for America. And I was placed in New York and then placed for a school in Brooklyn. And so I did education, and my third year, because I have my master's in education, third year, I then began to study for the LSAT after work. Yeah, took the LSAT, got into a slew of schools, including like Emory, Vanderbilt, UCLA, and was slated to go to UCLA and was on the wait list at Columbia. And I was just like, I am not leaving New York. I don't think I'm ready to leave New York. And I didn't have a job because I left my job because I was going to law school. And Columbia, that was the only school I applied to in New York. Long story short, didn't get pulled off the wait list at Columbia. And it was just like, well, what are you going to do with your life? I had applied for a job, and that's how I became an assistant principal. Because I didn't go to law school, I became an assistant principal. And the principal there had a law degree and at some point had practiced law. And so I applied for law school for like this part-time program that I heard about. I was like, oh, I can go part-time. And I got in like 8 hours. Yes, I got into law school in 8 hours.
Wow. Okay. And what a record.
Yeah. Law school starts next week. I was like, no, let me defer. Okay. I'll start with you all next year. And so I was an assistant principal while I was in law school. And it really groomed me to be able to make the law understandable to business owners so that they could stop, one, riding dirty, 2, stop doing shady business. And then 3, stop getting their ideas, products, services stolen from them.
I love it. You know, we're going to talk a little bit about that riding dirty and being shady. I had the opportunity not too long ago to be in the presence of this young lady and watch her wow everyone in attendance with her presentation. And I'm just excited that to even be, proximity. So just to even be in proximity, it's a blessing because it opens you up for so much more. So I'm going to say that to whoever's looking and listening, really check and pay attention to the people that are around you. Are they people that you can glean from, that they actually can even learn something from you? Are those the folks that can help you get to the next, and even something that you're not even thinking about? She said she was about to go into law, and then God said, I got another plan. We're going to allow you to do a design detour, as I like to call them, a design detour. And he sent you right over into education. Now, before you went full-fledged in, now you've got it, you've passed the test, everybody all excited. Now you got to tell all the kids, bye, your favorite principal has got to go, she got to go, she got to go. You know, how hard was that separating though? I mean, I understand, we know financially for those reasons, yes. Outside of financial reasons, and of course, carrying a bigger torch and a mission, if we're being honest, a mission, how was that hard to break away from the educational portion when you, with caring about the children?
Yeah. And I actually had to break 2 times, right? I had to break when I thought I was going straight to law school and I was going to be a full-time law student. So it was like a group of kids who lost their teacher and they were like they loved their Miss Moore. And then I had to break again when I had to leave as an assistant principal. And at that point, I remember walking, and I found it maybe like a year or so ago. I was walking through the school with my Bible, with in the Bible. It was either I was going to be able to take the summer off and then continue on as an educator for my last year of law school. I would continue doing life as is, which it was just becoming weighty, or I was going to have to leave education altogether. And people like, you know, the principal and the director of operations, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? They call me Jam. It's like, Jam, what are you going to do? And I was just like, I don't know. And then I finally like got a internship in the legal field. And so I just had to make the jump. It was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And, you know, these design detours that you kind of talk about, that school wasn't the best. So it wasn't the hardest like it was when I was like at a KIPP school where I had started my career there and things of that nature. So it was a little bit easier. And then, yeah, like I jumped full-fledged into the law. And I think now that's why when I transition in certain spaces that I now take buffer times, because I was so accustomed to just going and going and going. Like I left education and woke up was in law. Like now I'm just a lawyer. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like a baby lawyer. Like, you know, I got to turn it.
I'm a baby lawyer.
Lawyer. Like I'm doing interrogatories now. I'm looking into discovery. I'm doing legal research all day. And it was just like yesterday, I was literally giving a teacher feedback on their instruction and the culture of their classroom. I was leading, school-wide PDs, like, you know, professional development. So it was just like, and then now you're here. And then to go from the top, almost like the top of the chain in your career, to then start at the very bottom as an intern, right?
But okay. So let's connect it. Let's tie it though. Because you had the opportunity, you were blessed and fortunate to get those things under your belt going into this though. Don't you believe that it did help your approach into what God had now positioned and moved you into? Because your outlook is different from a person that just saying, I want to be a lawyer and I've done all the things and now I'm about to start. But because you were already working in helping people to understand things, I believe it probably even helped you in some of the way you study, maybe, perhaps. I mean, I'm just saying that's just the way I would see it in my mind. Not that the load wasn't heavy, because, oh my God. So I'm just glad that I know someone like you. Amen. Because that's not my street. That's why we pay people like you. That's right. I love it. And I know they miss you. Do you ever go back? Like, since you've done things in your career, have you gone back?
I went back a time or two, but you know, like some of my kids are grown. Like my like first few set of kids, like they're grown. They've graduated from high school. We are friends on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram.
Oh, how cool.
Some of the other children, like in my latter years, like they're now in middle school, so it's not quite the same. But I think I take that approach with how I am doing things. in like my church setting. So I'm always going and talking to kids. I'm always asking them about how school is going. I'm always digging beneath the surface to figure out what's happening socially and emotionally with them, to make sure that they're primed and ready to really walk in their purpose and identity. And so to your point, all things work together for the good of those, right? And so all of that works together. And that's why, as an intellectual property attorney and business and contracts attorney, where, you know, I'm oftentimes a fractional general counsel for larger businesses, I'm able to really bring them to a level of understanding and help them to really see the value add of making sure their business is sound, legally protected, and that they can leverage what they've done legally to make more money. And so it is only God that could have done it. And I recently was in a room with another attorney, because there are so many, you know, trademark attorneys, blah, 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 right? And I was in a room with another one, and she was presenting, and she was like, yeah, this is this and this is that. And I was like, God showed me my unique value proposition.
Mm.
Like,
I like that.
Yeah, like, do you see how you're different? Do you see, you know, how you communicate things? And it's all because, and I still have friends who are in education. All of them are still there. And I'm like, I would never trade my teaching years and my assistant principal years.
Wonderful.
Never.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I just needed to make sure you guys understood where part of this comes from. And that's one of the reasons why I believe what I saw, what I felt, the passion. And I believe it is, even with being around the youth and just the love for that, that comes out when I see you present, when I watch, when I listen to you, and even do business with you. How about that? Do business with you. I want to know, because there's a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs. Everybody have a logo, right? You see my logo is right behind me, right? That's having the things protected. Why IP? Why intellectual property? Why trademark? Of all the areas that you could have gone in, what made you hone in on that particular? Because we finna get into all those questions, but why that area?
Yeah, so I think, one, I have a personal conviction as to why so many businesses go out of business so quick. Like, you're in business one day and then you're gone the next day. And then I actually like study my craft. And so I'll do research to figure out, well, what happened with this deal? You know, we hear some of like the more popular music artists, and they're like, I have no money. Why do you have no money? Oh, you didn't understand contract law. You didn't understand your intellectual property. And so what I like to share with people is that we are now in the dispensation of ideas. And what that means is every idea has the ability to produce income for you. And so if you don't hold what you are producing out of your mouth, out of your mind, out of your heart to value and to protect it, then you are essentially just going outside and throwing your money in the air. And so somebody may be saying, well, I am a corporate hero, I'm not even an entrepreneur. You still should be thinking about things in that way, right? Because if your idea makes a corporation $1 million, why shouldn't you get some of that money? Right. And so when we talk about intellectual property, we are talking about mental real estate. And so the same way that you value investing in real property, that's what we call real estate in the legal world. The same way you value investing in real property, you need to value investing in your intellectual property, because God forbid you build your dream home. You put all of the appliances that you want in it, all to come and find out you don't own it. And someone then walks over to you and say, hey, while you were over here building, while you were over here designing and putting things into place, guess what I was doing? I was finding out whether or not you did your homework and did the foundational work to have ownership. So I found out that you didn't, and I bought it from up under you. So now here is what you can do. One, you can just get out because I own it. 2, you can buy it back from me after you put all of this hard work and money in it. Or 3, I can sue you for what it is that you've done on my property because you shouldn't have even been there.
So let's help somebody right there. Because I know because you mentioned even when we think about real estate as in homes and all of that, there are some people, if their home is in danger, the knowing that a person can actually access the taxes and pay back taxes, and that's another way that they can slip in and get access to certain things about the protecting, right? Because you're talking about riding dirty, and it's riding dirty with, I'm thinking about a dirty bottom. So that's why you're there to help protect their assets, right? To help protect that bottom end, right? That bottom end, that front end with things like that. So help somebody with even just basic stuff that they just don't even realize. Like, do you realize you need to be doing this, this, and this? If you don't do anything else, you've got to do A, B, and C.
Yeah. So one, I would say the question I always start off with is, do you even own your business? And people will argue me down. I have my LLC. I have my domains. I am good to go. An LLC and your domains give you the rights to operate a business. It does not establish your ownership of your business and your brand. You only get that established ownership through the trademark process. And here is the piece where people sometimes get messed up. They do all of the building and spend all of the money in the building, and then maybe learn like, oh yeah, I do need to protect it. And so now they want to come to a Jamila and say like, okay, these are my ideas and I'm ready to protect it. And I'm like, well, one, you have to make sure that the name that you created is actually eligible to be registered. So that's an issue there too, right? One, you have to make sure the name that you created isn't infringing upon someone else's rights. Because if it is, then you're in the situation where you bought the house, you built everything, and now you have the 3 options that are harming to you, right? So we want to make sure we have that trademark in place with the word mark and the logo. The word mark and the logo. And if you go to someone who is more concerned about your money rather than the assignment behind your business, they will then just, whatever it is you want to do, they will do. But you really need to have a great level of understanding and what you are doing to build a legal blueprint and legal standard operating procedures. So
you said a lot right there, because I know business owners, I know entrepreneurs, I know people who have all of those things. But when you say, because let's get into it, you call it riding dirty as it relates to not having the trademark on the assets of their business. I love how you put it, because it's so many people actually I don't even think they know. I don't think they understand that that's really what will tie a bow in it, where they have that needed layer of protection, not just the extra layer, the needed layer of protection for the business itself. So let's help somebody. Let's get into it. Trademark, talk about it. Trademark, because when you talk about riding dirty, it's really anybody who is really making a significant, there are people that are making hundreds of thousands, even possibly millions, and everybody, they do not have a trademark. They don't have it. So help the people today.
Yeah, so I'll give you some examples, right? We have, I think of this woman who is taking America by storm in a women's movement. And so she started this business in 2017, and she never trademarked the name of this movement. It really is a movement. Well, here comes some woman in 2021 who says, okay, this woman kind of has this movement in place. So I have this idea that's similar. I'm going to trademark. I know to take care of myself, so I'm going to trademark it. So she trademarks, or him, they trademark it. And it's similar, but it's similar enough to cause customer confusion, right? So she trademarks it in 2021. So now we're here in 2024 on the cusp of 2025, and you have a trademark owner and an infringer with a larger platform. So what is at stake for the infringer? Well, the infringer could be sued, the infringer could be stopped, or the infringer might have to pay to either buy it or rent it from this woman, all because they did not do the groundwork to protect and own the name of what it was that they were building. Let me give you another example. There was a popular show at some point, right? And a business owner, he was doing well. He had a few shops everywhere. And then here comes Viacom, MTV, BET, the conglomerate is Viacom. Hey, we want to produce a show for you. So they're going through the show production and all of that. Before the show premieres, Viacom trademarks the name of the show. Did Viacom come up with that idea? Did Viacom create the name of that? And it's based off this man's idea and his name, his image, and his likeness. However, he didn't go in and make sure he had ownership. And then later on, he goes in, he was like, well, I'm going to own it in this class. I'm going to own it in that class. The USPTO said, no, because you're infringing upon the owner's rights. So you can't go back and backdate your ownership if someone steals the ownership from up under you. So when you start right, you get to grow right, because the biggest when you start right, you get to grow right. If not, you're going to have to go back and pay for reconstruction.
That's a whole nother something right there. I hope you are looking, you are listening. She is Jamila Moore on all social media platforms, of course, Esquire. Check her out on LinkedIn. Make sure y'all I hear you say, put trademark in the chat right now, in the comments right now. We want her to know that you are picking up what she is putting down. Tell her, by the way, that, that Shawanna sent you. Oh, yes, of course. Just tell her Shawanna sent you that way. You really giving some great information, because honestly, a lot of people don't know what they don't know. And some people don't even know the right questions to ask. Some people, like you said, they just got up, we did a thing, and we're building backwards. So now we have to go back and fix some broken pieces, right? Fix some pieces that should be in place. So for a lot of people, it's not too late. These are things, instead of, as we look to things that we want to do for different parts of our business, protect yourself, protect your business, protect your assets, right? We don't want you, as she puts, we don't want you riding dirty. Talk about riding dirty. What does that look like? What does that mean? Talk about the riding dirty, because that's what she talked about, and I love it. Go for it.
Yeah. So you have some CEOs who are out here riding, you have some CEOs that are risking it all, and then you have some CEOs that are ready for anything. And so you have some CEOs that are risking it all, and then you have some CEOs that are ready for anything. And so you have some CEOs that are risking it all, and then you have some CEOs that are ready for anything. And so you have some CEOs that are risking, CEOs that are riding dirty. These are the folks that are like, I'm making money, I built my business, I have no trademarks, I don't have contracts, I don't have any copyrights in place, and I dang sure don't know what compliance is. But guess what? The money is flowing, so I'm doing business, and I am doing business well. And the problem there is something will happen in your business. It is not an if, it is a when. And when something happens, what rights do you have? What contractual documents do you have to be able to protect yourself from lawsuits, to be able to prove your ownership, and to be able to sue and stop people from infringing upon your ideas, your concepts, and your business? So when you're riding dirty, you have no insurance for your business. And you can pay for insurance with Hiscox and all those other people. But when you don't have legal protection, you're riding and your behind ain't covered. I got to say it like that. Your behind ain't covered. Right. And then you have your risky CEOs. They're like, well, you know what? I'm not going to be out here riding dirty. But the money I got, it's not for like legal stuff. It's not for protecting my business in that way. So I'm going to cut some corners, which means I'm going to cut my profits. And so I am going to sign up for, they told me the legal services for $30 a month. Legal services for $40 a month. How is that adequate to protect what it is that you're building? Okay, but hey, you got it, right? Maybe it's even $160 per month. You got it, right? But do you have understanding? Do you know whether or not that they gave you the comprehensive package to make sure that you crossed your T's and you dotted your I's? No. So you're walking around with a level of ignorance with patchwork protection. And that patchwork protection means that when the wind blows, because it's not an if, it's a when the wind blows, it has the potential to blow your whole house down because you had holes everywhere that you didn't even know that you had, right? And so something snuck in. Then we have our Ready for Anything CEOs. These are the CEOs that said, hey, I value what it is that I'm building. I don't want anyone to ever steal my ideas and my concepts. I want to make sure that I can leverage what I've already created and be able to either resell it or rent it out to other businesses. So I'm going to sit down with an attorney, make sure I have professionally drafted contracts that I understand and know how to negotiate and leverage. I'm going to make sure that every income producing asset in my business is trademarked and or copywritten. And I want to make sure that I'm abreast of the laws that I should be complying with in my specific industry to ensure that I am in legal compliance. And for some of these Ready for Anything CEOs, they are at a place of operation where they have to make sure they actually have a lawyer retained as a fractional general counsel and compliance director to maintain what it is that they've built. And so that's really where business owners really want to be.
Yeah. And when you said that to us, I was like, I got to get back in there. Now, do you handle that compliance piece?
Yes.
That is a part I want to make sure that they understand it, that you do operate in that compliance piece and making sure that people are compliant. So when you help someone get their trademarks for their business, it doesn't have to stop there. Am I correct? It does not stop there. It does not have to stop there.
Yeah, just having a trademark for your business still puts you in the place of the risky CEO because you have holes in your business. The trademark is the beginning, but the contracts that you have in place thereafter enforce your rights, your intellectual property rights, right? And so it talks about if you have a model where people buy services from you regularly or buy products from you regularly, well, your contract has to have that intellectual property clause. And then it works also on the back end if you're hiring people into your business, whether as an employee or independent contractor. And when you're doing that, you also have to make sure you're protecting your intellectual property. But then I'm going to bring in the compliance because I always say over here, we're running holistically well businesses. I'm going to bring in the compliance because now you want to ensure that you are adhering to their state laws, labor and employment laws, right? Because just because you're bringing someone in and you're like, oh, I'm going to have you do this. Because one of the things that many business owners don't understand, it is more so about what is arguable, right? And so when we see some lawsuits coming across our headlines in the news, it may not be what's true. It's about what is arguable based on a certain set of facts. And that's both criminally and civilly. And so you want to put yourself in a place where it'd be like, come at me, boo. I got my legal protection. I'm insured.
I love it. I love it. Now, y'all already know we're about to have a part 2 because she is putting it down. She is putting it down. The gem is dropping all over here, all over here, all over here. So you already know you need to mark your calendar. Make sure you check us out for the part 2 of this episode. Don't you go nowhere, Miss Jamila. We about to keep this thing rolling. We appreciate you for joining me for this episode of C-Suite of CEO Chat. You already see my amazing guest is none other than Esquire herself, Miss Jamila Moore. We're going to see you guys for a part 2. Bye for now, y'all. This episode is brought to you by Kennedy Media, your ultimate partner in content creation, video recording, and digital marketing. Be seen, be heard, and increase visibility in your business. Contact us today at KennedyMediaLLC.com, KennedyMediaLLC.com, and unlock your brand's full potential.